What's your y'all? Welcome back to Reddit the Wire. Well, it's going to be hard to top last weekend's Belmont Stakes, but we will move forward with an all stakes pick five at Monmouth on the Jersey Shore. It is Salvatore Mile Day, and they've got an all stakes pick five that I think we ought to take a look at. First race is the Pegasus. It's ungraded at 150,000. Eighth race on the card, running a mile and a 16th for the 3 year olds. And Garamond pretty much stands out above the other horses in this race, coming off a pretty impressive win against Cornucopian in an allowance race. A short field, only 3 horses, but those are the types that really that should have favored Cornucopian with his early speed, because those are usually match races where it's all out all the way. And I'll tell you, Garamond just put it to him and never looked back and just drew off. And maybe it was a little letdown from the Arkansas Derby with Cornucopian. That was such a big race. But he didn't look that much worse for wear. And I think it's really a sign more than anything, as you often see with Chad Brown 3 year olds. It takes them a little longer, but once they get going, they can progress into something pretty good. And Garamond looks like one of them. We saw him earlier on the Derby Trail, and he ran okay, but I mean he certainly had time to grow and improve, and this will happen with 3 year olds. And I think he's just got a class edge over the rest here. Bracket Buster, I have been key. I think he ran his best race a couple back and really hasn't come back to it. And I don't really like him here. Valentinian just comes from way too far back for Todd Pletcher, and even if he improves tactically, I don't think he's going to be in a good place. And with those connections, he's probably going to take a lot of money, and I really don't want any part of him. I don't like him in this spot. Incidentally, I'm sorry I don't have the odds at the time of recording, so you'll have to rely on them, the morning line, when it comes out. But I think it's safe to say Garamond's going to be pretty short. I jokingly was going to name this video the Chad Brown Invitational, because he's loaded in every race in this sequence. And this is no exception. I think Garamond's a really solid pick to win here. Kentucky Outlaw is a horse that I like as well, kind of as one that has outrun his pedigree and has been proficient at this distance. The problem is, this horse is kind of his own worst enemy. He's very tough out of the gate. He has a lot of problems getting going, and of course, with horses who like to run up amongst the leaders, consequently, he has to rush up, and he doesn't have enough late. But he is, when you get him on a good day, he's very dangerous in this spot and could get on the lead and draw off. Monmouth tends to be a speed favoring track, so Kentucky Outlaw I think is one to have a gander at and see if you can get a decent price on him. National Law and Just a Fair Shake, I think, are good bets for underneath. National Law is coming out of his best race yet. The problem is he seems to be a plotter, and I didn't see that turn of foot, that greasy kick that I love to see, and I think he's just one that's going to keep running more than anything else, and it'd be a good bet to get into the trifecta, perhaps the exacta, but that'd be the extent of it. Just a Fair Shake has been okay at Pimlico. But the problem is he always ends up second. And he made against Pay Billy a couple back. He made a really nice move at the top of the turn, and he looked, for all intents and purposes, he was just going to blow the field away. And what happened? He just flattened right out, and it seems to be a regular occurrence for him. So it's hard to think about him as a win candidate. But Just a Fair Shake, I like in this spot for underneath in the exotics, but this is definitely Garamond's race to lose. Next leg of the sequence is the Monmouth Stakes. It's ungraded at 150,000, ninth race on the card, running a mile and an eighth on the turf for 3 year olds and up. And this is another one where Chad Brown will likely have the favorite redistricting, but this is a race that does not inspire a great deal of confidence really in any horse, to be honest. This is a big time underachiever type of race. You look at most of these, Masterpiece, Signator, Redistricting. They've been horses that promise something better, and it never seems to happen. Masterpiece, I still can't figure out why Mark Ivaroni even bought this horse. Was 7 years old, and showed a little bit of something, but seemed if there was a prime, he'd passed it. And he's just sort of gone on, um, and run consistently the way he did before, which is sometimes he's pretty good, but more often than not, he disappoints. This is a class relief type of scenario and a more favorable one. He could certainly get the lead and take them all away. I could definitely see that happening. But can you ever be 100% confident in this horse? No. But he's certainly one to use, and this is a spread race for sure. Redistricting has been another underachiever for Chad Brown. He obviously likes the horse a lot. He keeps trying to get him going, and apparently he likes what he sees in the morning, but more than likely, more often than not, he disappoints, and he doesn't run the way we think he's going to run. And he's the other Chad Brown in a lot of these races that doesn't run well or runs about as expected. This again is class relief, and certainly with a more favorable field and a small one, he could, he could certainly win this race and probably has as good a chance as any, or maybe a little bit better, based upon back class. So we'll put redistricting on top. Is it a pick that you can have 100% confidence in? Not really. Otago is probably in the best form of any of them, but was benefited from some traffic trouble for Signator and highest distinction in the cliffhanger. Got free, ran a good race. Don't want to take that away from him, but it was aided that the others couldn't quite get free. He did. He got the trip, drew off nicely, and won the race. But he's in good form and is consistent. So Otago, I told you the idea of putting on top, but I don't like taking horses who, when they win a race last time, based upon racing luck. And there was a little bit of that there, but he did run well. I don't want to say he didn't, but it just had a little bit, a couple of things working for him. But Otago's in good form, could certainly win this race. Would be my second choice. Signator was very well thought of at 2 years old and just never really has realized his potential. They tried him on dirt, didn't really factor in that, so they moved him to turf, and he's certainly been better. But in watching the way he runs, it doesn't inspire me, and I don't see that big, sizzling kick that you like to see from a closer. He's more of a plotter, kind of like. Maybe Tapit Trace of Sandman. You'd have to give it as an example. I mean, they're grays. Maybe that's why I make that comparison. They're obviously a little more accomplished than Signator is, but he kind of runs the same way. Just sort of wonder if he's ever going to get there. And has some deceptive speed, but it's not the kind that makes me over the moon about him here. For Shug McGahee, we know Shug is extremely patient with his horses, and he's had to be with this one. And if he runs his race, he could win it too. But again, you can't be completely sold on any of them. So we're going to go with redistricting, but we will absolutely spread in the Monmouth. 10th race is the featured race of the sequence, I'd say. It's the Salvatore Mile. It's a grade 3, run at 1 mile, of course. Around 2 turns, we should note, whereas a lot of these are run at 1. This is a 2-turn mile race at Monmouth, and it's for the 3-year-olds and up. Pretty good field. This one, I would say, is Bishop's Bay's race to lose. He should be highlighted there, but he isn't. This is another one where you've got a fair amount of vulnerability, a fair amount of underachieving horses. Trademark being the greatest example of it. I love this horse, but seemingly outside of Churchill Downs, he just doesn't put it together. And every time you think he's going to run a big one, he doesn't. Every time you think he's out of it, he runs a big one. So he's a little inconsistent for me, and I don't think he stacks up with Bishop's Bay. The thing you can say about Bishop's Bay over every horse in this race, he's never been out of the exacta. 9 races, 6 firsts, 3 seconds. That's pretty consistent. Now, the one thing I'll say about him is the way he runs is kind of workmanlike. He doesn't draw away or blow a field away. He just kind of professionally does his thing, usually on the front end. He can rate if he has to, so he could sit right behind Nelson Avenue if he wants to. But when a horse runs professionally like this, if somebody freaks or gets a little bit of racing luck or whatnot, they can win. So he's certainly the horse to beat in this race. But there are a couple that I mean, I'm going to single Bishop's Bay. I'll just tell you right off the bat. I don't think that would be a surprise to anyone. Looking at this field, you take a horse like Tuscan Sky. I mean, last year he started for Todd Pletcher. It looked like he was going to start making some inroads, making some progress, and then nothing. Uh, and he did run well here last year, but this is a horse that just hasn't. They've tried him on turf. They've tried everything to get this horse going again, and they just can't seem to do it. Too unreliable for me. I think he can get underneath. But he's a real tough horse to think he's going to finally run that race we've all expecting him to, where we know what Bishop's Bay is going to do. He's a model of consistency. So Tuscan Sky underneath only. Awfully Cool, I think, is a pretty interesting local horse. Looks to be in good form as well. I liked his last race. He drew off, had looked really crisp, and so he's in excellent form. I don't think he's as good as Bishop's Bay. I don't think he's can threaten him, but I think he's certainly one you want to consider in your exactas. Surface to Air is another one that'll be coming from off the pace, and again, he's a little on the underachieving side, and I just don't think he's good enough to beat Bishop's Bay. That's really what it comes down to. But he's certainly one that's a decent enough form coming from off the pace you can use underneath. Vitality is interesting in that I really liked his last race. Tactically, he's going to be at a disadvantage coming from the rear of the field more than likely, but he's certainly a horse who looks like he's getting better. And the last race, I really liked the way he drew off from the field. He kicked away very nicely, and he seems to be showing signs that he is progressing. So if you want an upset pick, Vitality, again, because Bishop's Bay, the way he runs, where he doesn't blow a field away, he seems to just run well enough to win. With a horse like Vitality, who's potentially progressing and getting better, maybe you take a shot if you want to try to beat Bishop's Bay, but it's an awful tough order for a horse, like I said, who's so consistently good. And it's always Brad Cox spots exactly where he needs to be. So Bishop's Bay to me is the single, but Vitality and Awfully Cool I think are horses. If you want to try to beat Bishop's Bay, maybe you think about them in the Salvatore Mile. Fourth leg of the sequence is the Eaton Stakes. It's a Grade 3, 11th race on the card, running a mile and a 16th on the turf for 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And what a surprise. Chad Brown, once again, is well represented, although I'm going to try to beat him this time. Whiskey Decision and Maggie Go are both Chad Brown products, and they're both coming to him the first time, I believe. Maggie Go coming from overseas. From South America. If it was more of a European type of resume, then I might be a little more interested. Putting Flavian Pratt aboard certainly expresses interest, but and it's Chad Brown on the turf. So certainly this is a horse that you have to use, but do I have 100% confidence in? It's hard to know. It just really is to what to do with. Same thing with Whiskey Decision. This is a horse that has been a pretty decent performer, and with Chad Brown under his tutelage, with a little bit of time, maybe this one can progress. But again, it's kind of hard to know. But we do know Chad Brown's track record, and consequently, you got to use them both. Five Towns is a solid performer for Graham Motion, and this isn't a bad spot. But I can't see where I'm overly excited about Five Towns in this spot. It just one of the ones, really, more than anything else. Ozara is a horse I've always liked for Miguel Clement, now taking over for his father, who sadly passed away. Christophe Clement, really nice trainer. Really liked his get. Always seemed to run well. He's going to be missed, and this was his thing. The barn's going well right now. We saw what Deterministic did last week, which was a bit of a surprise to build off of what I thought was a really big effort and ran another one. Ozara is a horse I've always liked. This horse is another one, pretty consistent, has good form, and I think you're getting a little bit of class relief here. And consequently, this is the horse I'm going to go with. Has been a good, consistent performer. I know what I'm going to get with Ozara, whereas I'm not overly certain with Maggie Go or Whiskey Decision. And Five Towns to me, I just don't see enough there. I think it's certainly one to consider, but not necessarily as a win candidate. And I kind of feel the same way about Lady Firefoot. Um, so we'll try to beat Chad Brown at our own risk, but we'll include Whiskey Decision and Maggie Go in what is kind of a little disappointing version of the Eaton Town. Last leg of the pick five is the Ladies' Secret. It's ungraded at 100,000, 12th race on the card, running a mile and a 16th for 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And nice of Monmouth not to have a getaway race involved in the sequence, so we keep it all stakes. And this is a pretty good field. I think it's a good betting race, as are a couple of the races in here. In particular, we've got a good mix of chalk as well as betting races. And I think this one, certainly when you throw in the likes of Gunsong or Occult, then you've got a couple viable options. Gunsong just really hasn't come back as a 4-year-old, and I'll tell you, last race I thought maybe would be more effective. Having one race under her belt, and would come back second off the left, and it just didn't happen. And you really got to wonder if she's a very unusual gun runner, and that she's not progressing as she gets older. And I just can't bet her after those last two efforts. I don't think Into Amore or Dream Concert are real threats to take this field all the way, but they certainly put enough pressure on a horse who isn't running particularly well right now, and they'll do their job in keeping Gunsong out of it, so I'm going to toss her. Catherine Wheel for Chad Brown is one that is a little more lightly raced, and the question that you certainly have to consider in a field like this. This is there's a couple horses in here who are just field horses thrown in to fatten up the field. You can't think of them any other way. Gold Strategy in particular, or Dream Concert. But Catherine Wheel is one that I get a little concerned when I see Chad Brown horses pass their maiden and then don't get into this graded stakes right away. And Catherine Wheel has done a little bit of that, but seems to be one that hasn't quite taken that next step. Had some promise early on, but I guess there have been a couple of distractions in the way. But this is a horse who has some talent, and I think this might be an ungraded stakes, might be a good spot for her. She seems to be comfortable in that class level, and so I think Catherine Wheel is one you certainly have to use. Majestic Oops, really, the last time I saw this one run at Oaklawn, I was really stunned how well she ran, and really seems to have been rejuvenated at Oaklawn for the last couple of starts. Is firing fresh for this one, and let's see if she can take her track with her. So Majestic Oops, I think you probably get a halfway decent price, and it's certainly one to consider. I'm going to go with a Cult here. Because I think this is a good spot for a horse who's been a good class performer and has a little bit of an edge over the rest. But the thing with the Cult is, as with many horses in this sequence, this one never quite seems to get there. And it always seems to be somebody a little better. Now, you're getting significant class relief here, so I think that that may do the trick, and I think she's the best horse in this race, in my opinion, and you have to take her. But there's that lingering thing about is somebody going to be better? It'd be hard. I mean, Catherine Wheel, if that's the case, it's the other Chad Brown, and that fits. But Majestic Oops, I think, is certainly a qualified candidate as well, and for an ungraded stakes, I think they're the three best in this field. And again, I because Gunsong is just doesn't seem to be what she was last year. I think hopefully people will think she's rebounding and they'll put money on her. But I can't touch her after those last two. So we'll go with a Colt, but we're going to spread in the Lady's Secret as well. So we'll take a look at our ticket, and you see we're going to keep this really short because we're going to double single because we can. On leg race 8, we're going to single the 3, right, and leg 3, race 10, we're going to single Bishop's Bay, and I think they're the two. Garamond in race 8, I think, and Bishop's Bay are the two. It's hard to go against them either way, but that allows us opportunity to spread a little bit more in the other races. So in leg 2, race 9, we'll go 3, 5, and 7, and then legs 4 and 5, we're going to do 1, 3, 7 with both. And so that's 4 times 3 times 3. That's $36 ticket on a $1 base. I didn't find a whole lot of prices or possible prices in this race. And so, I mean, it probably isn't going to pay a whole lot. So if we keep it skinny and we can leverage, you go with that 33933 ticket, and leverage that kind of heavy, then maybe we can make some ROI here. But I think that whatever the case may be, this isn't the type of sequence we want to go too deep with. So anyway, that's the Monmouth Late Pick 5 for Saturday. I hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy. I wish you the best of luck as always. And certainly if you do like content like this, please like and subscribe. And thanks to all of you who have come on board. We want to follow up what was a great Triple Crown season. A great Triple Crown trail. Moving onward, we've got Saratoga next month, as well as Del Mar. We've got the Haskell, and then the Jim Dandy and the Travers for the 3-year-olds. I can't wait to see any of those. Those are going to be real fun races. The Stephen Foster at Churchill Downs coming up, and we'll certainly be following all the stakes races on our way to the Breeders' Cup at the end of the year. So plenty of content coming from Right at the Wire, so stay tuned right here. That's it. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.